Ball is at the goal line for construction on the SPORTSPLEX at Celebration Pointe.
And county officials are expecting a major financial impact. TV 20's Ethan Badowski tells us how they say the money should start flowing into Alachua County.
We have never had a project of this scope developed within the county.
And it is quite the project. 130,000 square feet, $38 million, 13 basketball courts, 18 volleyball courts, 21 pickleball courts, and 2,400 permanent seats.
This basketball court behind me alone also has room for 2 volleyball courts and 3 pickleball courts, and there's 6 more of them in the rest of the facility.
People can also enjoy batting cages and a 200-meter track that officials say is the only one of its kind south of Birmingham, Alabama. The CEO of the company that designed the facility says its purpose goes beyond sports, including graduations, concerts, and more.
We have a bar mitzvah scheduled here, so not only is it turning into a really high activity and exciting place for sport, but it's also 92,000 square feet for convention space that Gainesville's never had before.
The county's tourism director estimates it will bring in $12 million in financial impact annually. Alachua County contributed $30 of the $38 million for the total cost of the project. The county's portion is funded entirely by what officials call a bed tax, which is placed on tourists at hotels, restaurants, and other places.
The impact of this is transformational because of the visitor spending and all of those positive benefits that come from the economic development from tourism.
The grand opening of the facility will take place with a ribbon cutting on June 10th. After that, officials expect the tourists and the cash to start flowing for years to come. In Gainesville, Ethan Badowski, TV 20 News.